Truth Unveiled here, keeping you updated with the world around you. And today we're going to be talking about the issue when it comes to the immigrant children, along with Walmarts that are now shelters for almost 1,500 migrant children. And again, this is what your media is telling you. But before we go into this, I just find it highly amazing and very interesting and suspicious indeed how we've been warning about these things for years. We've been talking about these things, exposing these things with government documentation to prove it, and we've been talking about it and warning about it on this channel and exposing it for how many years. And I just find it amazing and fascinating how so many people thought that it was crazy, and so many people thought that, oh, you have the tinfoil hat on. But now that it's actually coming out, and now that ABC and mainstream media is telling you about it, now people actually believe it. I find that very funny. But anyway, it says here from the New York Times, inside the former Walmart that is now a shelter for almost 1,500 migrant children. Now, this was reported in Brownsville, Texas. Now, again, this is what they're telling us. We know darn well that there's even more that they're not telling us about. This is only what they want us to know. But like we've been reporting for how many years now, they've been doing this behind closed doors and have many more facilities that are ready to go. And note the language that they're using. They love using the word facility. What does that sound like? FEMA camps. They're not going to call it that, but that's what it is, folks. They're literally putting it right in front of your face. It's time to wake up and see where we really actually are now, because now they're getting you conditioned and mentally conditioned for all of these things now like never before. But anyway, the report says in the loading docks, children sat in a darkened auditorium watching the animated movie Moana. Where there were once racks of clothes and aisles of appliances, there were now spotless dorm-style bedrooms with neatly made beds and Pokemon posters on the walls, aka prisons, aka FEMA camps, aka internment and resettlement camps, just like the FM 3.39-40 document that we've gone over how many times on this channel. But then it says the back parking lots were now makeshift soccer fields and volleyball courts. The McDonald's was now the cafeteria. All this made it difficult to visualize what the sprawling facility used to be, a former Walmart supercenter. And that's what we told you and reported about, is that what are they doing with these Walmarts? They claim that, oh, back in 2015, oh, they're converting them, and oh, they're doing plumbing issues. And we told you and exposed to you during Hurricane Harvey that, oh, they were not converting them for no plumbing issues, but rather they're converting them into detention centers. And it's not just Walmart, it's many other stores. That's why you're seeing a record number of store closings all across America within the past couple of years. What do you think they're turning them into? All of these abandoned malls and abandoned warehouses? What do you think they're becoming? They're slowly but surely telling you and getting you used to this new world order, draconian Orwellian type system. But then it goes on to say here, the converted retail store at the southern tip of Texas has become the largest licensed migrant children's shelter in the country. And that's what they're going to call it, even though that's not what it is. A warehouse for nearly 1,500 boys aged 10 to 17 who were caught illegally crossing the border. And they're going to use this excuse too, because how do we actually know that? It says the teeming 250,000 square foot facility is a model of border life in Trump era America, part of a growing industry of detention centers and shelters as federal authorities scramble to comply with the president's order to end catch and release of migrants illegally entering the country. Did you see this? The New York Times is literally telling you, even the Zionist funded lying mainstream media is even telling you right in front of your face that they're what? Growing industry of detention centers, and they're calling it migrants because this is what? A test. Soon they're going to have them for who? So-called terrorists, because you could be a terrorist if you're watching this video right now. So they're going to have to put you in a holding detention center because you could be a threat to America. You could be a threat to this nation. And so they need to detain you to make sure you're not going to do any terrorist schemes or pull any terrorist schemes up your sleeve, such as telling the truth like this video. Do you see where this agenda is going? We've been trying to tell you this time and time and time again, but maybe when you see it on the New York Times, maybe that will wake you up and open your eyes. But then it goes on to say, now that children are often being separated from their parents, wow, this is nothing new under the sun, because where was this occurring? Oh yeah, this reminds me of what? None other than slavery. And during the times of slavery, when slavery was illegal in America, when so-called black babies were separated from their parents. But see, no one really cared about it back then, but now all of a sudden it becomes an issue. But then it goes on to say this facility has had to obtain a waiver from the state to expand its capacity. And that's also what we talked about, how your so-called celebrities are in on the scheme too, and how your government, through other documentation and through the shadow government documentation that we also talked about, how your government is leasing land all across the nation in order to convert certain places and turn them into these prisons, along with malls and federal government buildings such as schools, libraries, etc. that come martial law, that's pretty much already started, folks. They're going to be converting them into prisons. America is soon going to be one great big prison. It already is. But then it goes on to say cots are being added to sleeping areas. The staff is expanding. Who is it expanding with? It's expanding with police and military. But even that is not enough. Federal authorities are considering establishing tent cities on what? Army and Air Force bases? Haven't we gone over this, and haven't we exposed this too, about the DUMS program and all of what goes on underground, and how these military bases are also grounds for FEMA camps too, and have already transferred hundreds of immigrant detainees to temporary housing at what? Federal prisons? Oh my goodness. But then it says that according to the Department of Health and Human Services, the announcement came that temporary tent housing would be placed up near the border station in Tornillo, Texas, to house up to 360 youths. That prompted an angry response from a Democratic state senator who noted that temperatures could be expected to exceed 100 degrees at this site.
Went back underneath the bridge, and they were loading up with as many people. It's got to be dozens of people in the back of that thing. They take them to a nearby Walmart. 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 And then the Walmart is where, I guess, metro buses or school buses will take them to the shelter. And then the Walmart is where, I guess, metro buses or school buses will take them to the shelter. And then the Walmart is where, I guess, metro buses or school buses will take them to the shelter. The question is, what shelter are they taking them to? Because I heard Tom say GRB is overcrowded and or not overcrowded, but at the capacity they had planned for. So I think they're, gosh, I certainly have that question. I don't know if we've answered it.
And they really have nowhere to go. At least they have a system where they're taking them to a Walmart where they can be inside and wait and figure out what comes next. At least they have a system where they're taking them to a Walmart where they can be inside and wait and figure out what comes next.
The people I talked to, all with the exception of one, they all were eager to go wherever the truck would take them. Interestingly enough, Coast Guard helicopters and the National Guard helicopters had pulled away. I hear one. There's no way we can see it. It's too far off, but I heard it pass over. A military helicopter. I had talked to a sheriff's deputy earlier. They said they had a quadriplegic who was stuck in his home and obviously needed immediate rescue, but and they were going to try and do that one with a chopper. I don't know if that's what we're hearing, but I know that was something that they were discussing.
Now, this was a report that came out as of June of 2014, about 4 years ago, where you see it says first glimpse of immigrant children at holding facility. This looks nothing but what? Like a prison for people who they consider are not even citizens of the country, are not even humans. This is what they're doing. What does this sound like? Just like slavery. Nothing new is under the sun. Wow. How many hundreds of years later, 150 years later, and nothing has changed, because it says here, young boys sleep in a holding cell. U.S. Customs and Border Protection And meanwhile, this is what they're telling us, but who knows what really goes on behind closed doors, because we already told you how your government is involved with the massive scheme of what? Human trafficking, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and what else? Child trafficking too. Could this be part of that too? You see right here, these are just some pictures that I'm going to show you right now, but as you see, it looks like what? Prisons all over again, the surveillance systems. That's why we've also talked about on this channel and exposed all the spying that's going on, because this is part of their new world order, how they're implementing all of these spy programs, spying through the street lights, spying through your phones, spying through internet, spying through cable, spying through pretty much your dishwasher too, in any single way, shape, or form that they can, because they want you to get used to this system of things. Because if you really think that you're free, it's time to think again. And what's worse is that a lot of these children are being separated from their families, separated from their moms, separated from pretty much everyone that they know. And not only are they being separated, they are also in holding cells against their will, and they're called detainees, as you can see right here. This is how they're being called. They're not even being called people, but rather they're being classified as who? Detainees. Who else is this going to be? Soon enough, it's going to be anyone who's getting the truth out. Soon enough, it's going to be anyone who is against the New World Order, who is against the government. They're going to call you a detainee too. But will you still sit there and think that, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory? Will you still sit there and think that, oh, it's not actually happening, that, oh, it's just a hoax and that old tinfoil hat? Or will you really start to see, realize with your real eyes and wake up to the truth that's literally being placed right in front of you? Here are some more pictures from a CBS report. As you can see right here, provided by the U.S. government, children are seen inside the McAllen, Texas, processing facility. That's something else that we've gone over in the video and in our document from FM 3.39-40, how these internment and resettlement camps will have processing. They'll be processing everything about you. They want to know your name. They want to know your social security. They need to know all of these things about you. Why? Because they need to know if you're going to be considered a quote unquote dissident, or if you're going to comply with their every single rule and their every single draconian law that they put in place, because this is highly unconstitutional. But see, they're going to keep twisting the rules and keep doing what they want to do. Why? Because it's all about worldwide control. And for those who are just skeptic beyond belief, well, you could keep thinking that this is a game all you want to, but when it comes to your neighborhood and comes to a police state near you, well, then you're finally going to see the truth that's been right in front of you all along. But do you see how the news likes to use this type of language where it says one cage had 20 children inside? Why in the world would they claim that this is a cage, as in it's a prison? On top of all that, they even claimed that these facilities, quote, felt very sterile, and there were, quote, chain link fences from the floor to the ceiling with netting at the very top. So what does this mean? Nowhere to go. Once they're admitted as detainees, there's no getting out. Now, among other things, we've also exposed to you military vehicles that have been seen all across America. We've also shown you some footage of these things, and we've also shown you how, what are they doing? They're literally turning America into a police state, whether or not you want to believe it or see it or realize it. But what I'm showing you now was submitted to me by an anonymous person that is in Tennessee, and this is a former Kmart right here. As you can see, this is an abandoned Kmart. Now, what you start to realize that's very interesting and suspicious indeed about this is how, look how they have this right here with the fences and the chain link fences right there. What does that look like? Looks like it's ready to go for detainees, where they can enter them, process them, and then place them in a holding cell if they have to in some abandoned area, because this once was a Kmart. Here is the inside of the Kmart. As you can see, what once used to be a Kmart now looks like a perfect place to hold dissidents, as your government classifies it. And we've already gone over plenty of government documentation where you could be considered a terrorist if you do not bow down to the orders of the New World Order, or if you're against the New World Order, if you're pro-guns, or if you're anti-gay rights, anti-abortion, and etc. But I'm telling you folks, this is some real stuff, and this is not not just in Tennessee, but this is going on all over the country. We've also shown you and proven to you and showing you too all of the store closings worldwide and nationwide, and you're starting to see that it's on an uptick. What do you think they're doing? Do you think they're closing down these stores just because they have nothing better to do? Do you think they're closing down these stores just because, oh, they feel like it, and oh, well, they're going to open up another one? No, the only thing they're opening up, as you see right here, is preparing for what? Detention and detainee centers. Here's what looks like the entrance of what used to be that Kmart. Here's just another picture. As you can see, it's completely empty. There's no more shelves. There's no more items or merchandise in the store. But what are they converting it into? What are they getting it ready for is the better question. Now, if you have any pictures or anything interesting and suspicious indeed that you would like to send or submit to me, whether it be pictures or footage that you've taken and you would like to remain anonymous, but you would like to share it with the public, please email me at truthunveiled77@gmail.com. Again, my email is truthunveiled77@gmail.com with 2 sevens and not 3. But I really wanted to get on here and share this with you and expose it with you because this is some real stuff, folks. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not something that's out of a fantasy world. This is some real live stuff that is going on, happening in your neighborhoods behind closed doors. And now is the time to see the truth and seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha like never before. This is Truth Unveiled here, saying as always, Shalom.